Okay, the Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. You'll be excited to hear that the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Reddings is back by my side, and thank God for that, because doing this show by myself on Monday was absolutely shit house. G'day, Skeeter, how are you?
Hello, Scully. I've spent a lot of time by myself doing lots of stuff over the years.
Is that right?
Only child, so I'm just used to it. So just suck it up, big fella. 40 minutes, and you did very well, I'm
Yeah,
told.
thank you, mate. We do know that you hold this show together, so it's good to have you back. Shelterfootycast.com.au. You'll need that to enter Is the Footy Better with Shelter. We're doing lager this week, Skeet. You may not be across this because we spoke about it Monday. When I say we, I mean me. But lager's your sort of beer.
That's more into my sort of outside off stump, just a bit short, bang, 4 runs.
Right, so you're talking cricket. So last night we worked on radio, and we'll get to the exclusive that you broke.
No.
That you broke. There's some big news in footy this morning. You broke yesterday. You went home and watched cricket. You happy with that?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it was good. Test cricket at its like best. It was a tough afternoon or morning to face the South African Quicks, and then we got through that, and Bo Webster had a little bit of luck, and C. Smith batted well, and I didn't stay up to the end, but 4 for 40 in reply after we made 200 plus. It's a good day of Test cricket in terms of lots of wickets, and Australia on top. But yeah, I love it. At Lords, it's just got that magnificent look about it.
I couldn't give two stuffs about it, to be honest. I think it's an irrelevant game, but
Irrelevant?
I couldn't care less. It was Test cricket. Well, where are we? June. Like, who cares? Anyway, the one thing I do care about, you said there, you didn't stay up until the end. I mean, the last time I saw you, until right now, and I saw you last night, but before then, you're getting escorted out by your mother out of shelter at the shelter event. Is that true or false?
No, it's not. It was 8:15. I said, Mum, we've had a pizza, had great hospitality, met some people, had to talk to you for 10, 15 minutes, and then said we were staying in Dunsborough. So I said, Mum, I would go back and just recline at the little place we got in Dunsborough.
So did you not go to bed when you got home?
No, I watched a bit of TV for an hour or so, but I wasn't up like some people.
I love every time I ask you about drinking. You act like I'm quizzing you.
I'll be honest. I didn't go home and drink. I went home.
I'm not lying.
I went home and I think I watched a bit of the French Open tennis, for what it's worth, which is really exciting.
Very good. So I was talking about the exclusive that you broke last night, Skeeter.
Yeah.
But I think actually, just if we finish off on the shelter event on the Saturday before the big game in Bunbury, you just told me some news, which I think's maybe more exclusive than the news you broke. Mate, what did you just tell me about the Hilton Busselton, which I might say was one of the great venues to stay at over the weekend. We love staying there. Love the Hilton down in Busso. Who was staying there?
No, well, there's 6PR rumour file now, yet to be confirmed, may never be confirmed, might be complete rubbish. But I would say to you that they said that the great Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan was staying at the Hilton in Busselton last weekend when you were there. So it's on you not to have noticed a bloke of his standing and you just was wandering around aimlessly with a shelter.
Is it on me that I thought he was dead?
Yeah, no.
Is that my fault?
He's not.
Is he alive?
He's alive. He's not well. I think in all seriousness, he arrived, I think, in a wheelchair. He's probably close to 80.
I don't wish he. I just thought he wasn't with us anymore.
No, well, you'll know about it because it's a bit when he leaves us. It's a huge story in Australia. How old? 85. So he's getting on, but no. If he was at Busselton, not Shelter, but the Hilton, and you missed him, then you need to keep your eyes open.
He must have been acting since like the 60s or something. What were some of his best movies in the 60s?
So he had a comedy show in the 70s called Hogs, and it had Delvine Delaney, and it was, dare I say it, quite misogynistic, a bit like the Benny Hill show.
How old were you then?
I was 7 or 6, 5 in the 70s. I was born in 1970, just to clarify when I was born. Right. And then I'm not sure if you're old enough to remember Crocodile Dundee. It was a show that was in the 80s. Again, you may not have been born, but that doesn't mean you can't have heard of the Sound of Music. I wasn't born, but I still know about it. I mean, these things are like...
The Sound of Music.
I'm the only bloke, by the way, that went on the Kentucky tour to Salzburg with a mate of mine in my 20s, and everyone, they go, have you seen The Sound of Music? Everyone's seen it except for me.
So, hang on, I don't care about The Sound of Music. Let's talk about the Kentucky tour. How old were you on the Kentucky tour? I was in the
early 20s, like most blokes.
Where did you go?
Did a bit of a Europe adventure. Yeah, it was a bit of fun with a mate of mine.
Was it?
Yeah, it was just doing what you do, just drinking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a new segment on Monday, it'll be Skeeter's Kentucky Tour details, because I've never heard that one from you, and I love when you just slip something out and you go, I shouldn't have said that. Scully's going to have that between his teeth for the rest of the year, because I certainly will. All right, it is Thursday. If you're a small business owner, it's getting very, very close to the end of financial year. If you're looking at taking your side hustle to the next level, stop doing cashies like Skeeter, contact Aspect Accountants this end of financial year for a free initial consultation on all things accounting and tax. I spoke to Ben last week. He said a number of you had got in touch and a couple of businesses signed up with him. So love the fact that you, as our community, as our audience, are not listening to us, but supporting the people that are supporting us. So if you are one of those people, thank you. If you have a small business and you want to get in touch with Ben and the team, just contact Aspect Accountants, aspectaccountants.com.au. All right, Skeet, let's get into it. Some big moments that are around. Let's start with it. Breaking news that you broke.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. I was on live radio with you. You said, out of nowhere, I've got some breaking news, and you said Kozzy Pickett signed his deal.
Had officially signed. Well, I did get a call.
I said, what do you mean? And you said, he signed. It's done. It's done, didn't you?
I did say that. I wouldn't say I broke the story by any means. Now, whether it was, I've seen Ryan Daniels do some stories about it. I've seen Mitch Clear. I'm not sure he broke the story.
Everyone was bouncing around the edges, but Mark Redding's newsbreaker just went straight down the guts and said he signed. I was next to you.
Yeah, I did say that, but it was just like saying, there's the cake, it's been baked, I'll just put the cherry on top and easy.
So it was a little bit like me guaranteeing Hawthorn's sort of role or,
No, but you were wrong. There's a difference. There's a big distinct difference.
Oh, well, okay. So he signed the deal. It's a 9-year deal, a 7-year extension, 9-year deal through to 2034. He'll be 33 years old. There's no clauses like Mac Andrews. So Mac Andrews is going to meet some sort of playing benchmarks. Kozzy Pickett signed, set, delivered. I think it's $12 million for 9 years.
Wow.
Thanks for coming. Thoughts on that?
Oh, look, I think Kozzy Pickett would be waking up with that smile, that beautiful smile of his, and be doing, I don't know if he does a somersault, but he'd be jumping out of his skin with that. And whether Anthony van der Wielen, his new manager, has been able to construct this, or whether Melbourne has just thought he's our generational player. But for me, it's overs. I mean, I think that's an obvious statement to make that I think most people would say, wow, that's overs. You're a very good player, don't get me wrong. And I asked you a question last night, which I'll ask again this morning, about a comparison. But yeah, it's big dollars. The thing is with contracts, obviously we know they're not, cast in stone, movement possible, but it does make it tougher for other clubs to construct a deal in the next 5 years, for instance.
I'll tell you who wouldn't be as happy as Kozzy Pickett is his old manager. I don't know who that is.
Anthony van der Wielen.
That's his old manager.
Oh, his old manager, sorry.
So Anthony van der Wielen will be just as happy as Kozzy because he's getting kickbacks for the next 9 years. What about his old manager?
Who was that?
I don't know. Can you try and look that up, Jaden, or someone? I know you're paneling over there. Don't work too hard. But, mate, Kozzy Pickett, is this perhaps one of the great... Peter Road.
Peter Road, the ex-player, no?
Thoughts and feelings with Peter this morning, because I think this is one of the great posturings of all time by Kozzy Pickett and his team. For all, checks and balances, he was off to Fremantle and the Jackson trade's happening and Brad Green's coming out saying, we want 5 first-round picks for it. Seriously. And he's pivoted to a 7-year greatest deal of all time. That's one of the great sells of all time by him and his team.
I wouldn't think that Kozzy Pickett has played this like a poker player. I think whatever he said on text, he would have genuinely had interest in coming to Fremantle, but I'd be surprised if he wasn't even taken aback by the dollars and the time that's been put in front of him. It's something that I think if you've got a young family or anyone really, it's pretty hard to ignore the next 10 years security and potentially the rest of your life for that type of deal. So I can't blame him whatsoever. I did ask you this question last night. I'll ask you again. If you had the choice, and they're both in the mix, if you had Shai Bolton at your disposal or Kozzy Pickett to try and recruit to the club right now, if you could have one or the other, who are you taking?
The only thing I didn't consider was the age difference. Is there a big age difference?
I think Shai's 27, 28 maybe. So that's 3 years difference. Oh, 26. So it's 2 years difference. Not a heap, is it?
Look, okay, I'll take age out of it. I think perhaps that Shai Bolton is a bigger multi-threat than Kozzy, just because of his height and his aerial ability. Doesn't mean Kozzy's a bad player. Like I think Kozzy's a gun. I think Shai's a gun. If I'm getting off the fence, I'm picking Shai for no other reason than that I just think that maybe he has a little bit more aerial prowess, but they're both weapons. It was why Fremantle, really wanted to get him to the club. Imagine Shai Bolton Kozzy Pickett for the next 10 years. If you could do that, you'd do that, but they're not going to do that. I wonder what that means for Fremantle and whether or not that was ever going to happen, whether or not this is just more posturing by Luke Jackson's team or someone else's team.
Does it give them more ammo in 12 months to have a real throw at the stumps for Chad Warner?
Simon Garlick came out yesterday, I believe, and literally, not mistakenly, literally quoted Will Smith. I think he started this with, I'll quote the great Will Smith, and said, "Get my players out your mouth," right? So he didn't say it like that. But Simon Garlick basically said Melbourne teams need to get our players out of their mouths. I kind of agree with Simon Garlick.
It's no different to what Brad Green did, essentially. It was, and you're sticking up for your club, sticking up for your... I'd rather that. And Eddie Maguire, when he was president, would have been saying that 10 times louder. So I've got no issue with a CEO going to bat like he has. And look, Kozzy, good luck to him. And I think the Dockers now, the Luke Jackson move to Melbourne becomes almost impossible, I'm thinking.
Yep.
And so it just means what can Fremantle in the next 12 months? Because I still think they're a couple of pieces away from being a premiership puzzle.
Luke Beveridge signs for 2 years, Skeeter. That's been bubbling away for a little bit, but that's confirmed now. I had some questions yesterday about whether they can make the top four. They've never finished in the top four under Luke Beveridge, ever.
But still won a flag, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So is this the year they do it? Does this give any security to the rest of the club, or is it, business as usual?
Oh, I don't mind the decision. I think if you know you've got a good operator, and Luke Beveridge is clearly a good operator, you have to then, if you say no to Luke, you have to go through the whole process again. You're going into an unknown unless you bring back a John Longmire into the mix or someone of that ilk, or Nathan Buckley. So, yeah, I have no issue with the Bulldogs. I think continuity, and if the players, obviously, there would have been discussions with the leaders. Do you want Bevo to stay on? Absolutely. And a bit like we talked about Ange Postecoglou, lots of his players were pretty distraught that he was given the lemon.
Postecoglou.
Yeah, Postecoglou gone. So, no, I think it's a good decision by the Dogs. Now they can concentrate on working out a good deal for Jamari Ugle-Hagan, getting Sam Darcy back and playing good footy. I don't mind that decision. For
what it's worth, Tottenham, what a disgraceful club they are. That is just an absolute embarrassment if you're a Tottenham fan. I'm an Arsenal fan, by the way. Just like, how do you sack your coach after winning a European Championship? Haven't done that in 17 years.
How does Arsenal win so many games and get so many points and not win the Premier League title?
Tottenham man.
No, I'm not. I'm just I'm just an idiot, just enjoying you just having a crack at EPL clubs for getting rid of their managers, mate. They do that like getting up and having toast or like a muffin in the morning in England. It's just what are we going to do? Let's sack Schofield.
A muffin. Oh, don't worry. You and I will be out the door quick smart. A muffin and tea. I like that. Look, a little drive-by here. Sam Durham, 2 weeks for bump on Adam Chera. I think that's about right, to be honest.
Agree.
I think it's like 3 weeks would have been too much. 1 week, you would have been like, well, again, I spoke about this yesterday on Fox Footy. Adam Chera, his technique didn't cause this incident, but it didn't help it. And it's no excuse for Sam Durham basically shirt fronting him up the middle. But if Adam Chera had better technique, this wouldn't have happened. So if you compare the pair, Sam Durham went in sideways, hip, shoulder, protecting himself. Adam Chera didn't. That doesn't excuse the action. And I think that's why the 2 weeks is relevant and should be. But Brad Scott spoke about this, coach of Sam Durham, and he couldn't say it, but he effectively said the reason this happened was because of poor technique versus good technique. And I agree with that. Doesn't mean it's not 2 weeks.
What it does mean is that he misses the game against Fremantle on Thursday week. Next Thursday. So,
which is good. He's a good player.
He's a very good player. He's one of their real hard nuts. Yeah. So that's a bonus for the Dockers.
Yeah, that's a good point. How is this possible? I do know how it's possible. Mitch Cleary reports that Geelong have a war chest for potential free agents. This is around Simon Garlick's comments around Luke Jackson, Harley Reid. To go alongside Bailey Smith, and I initially was like, well, how does Geelong have it? Cotton on and others, we're getting all this money together. No, they just don't have many superstars. They got Bailey Smith who'd be on a packet, but unders because he was coming off a knee.
Yep.
Patrick Dangerfield will be on a good wicket, but he's coming towards the end of his career. Jeremy Cameron will be on a good wicket coming towards the end of his career. Tom Stewart will be on a good wicket. Who else would be getting paid lots of money at Geelong? No one.
You probably summed it up well. It just begs the question. But this happens in the Victorian media regularly. Any time a player is coming out and is looking potentially elsewhere, Matt Rowell, for instance, Geelong's mentioned, Collingwood's mentioned. They're the two. You ever seen Kilda mentioned with Matt Rowell?
No.
It's never a club of that ilk, I'm saying.
And they'd have money too.
They'd have a heap of money, hence TDKs in their sites.
Yeah, so I just think it speaks to how good these clubs are. Like Geelong and Collingwood, I don't think have the best lists in the competition, yet they just consistently play like one.
Yep.
Like they play like they do. So that is the coaches, that is the admin, that is the club, that is the players and their role-playing ability. So just in case you want to roll out Cotton On to, or anyone else for that matter, because Geelong, that's not where their war chest is coming from. It's coming from the fact they've got brilliant coaches and a brilliant system and structure that helps them win games, that helps players play their role. And then when you're a player that wants to come out of contract, you're looking at Geelong. How good does that place look? Look at Jeremy Cameron, look at Tom Stewart. Don't you think?
Well, if you can get, and again, money's important, but as you often said, it's about, dare I say, you're there to win flags. And if you can win one in your life, it's an absolute pinnacle of your career. If you don't, we've seen Gary Lyon even talk about at the Hall of Fame during the week about you feel unfulfilled when you stand next to a Dermot Brereton or a Jason Dunstall, those types of players. So, yeah, that's the ultimate.
Yeah, it's always an interesting conversation, that one around winning a premiership, whether...
And it shouldn't be the case, because sometimes like Nathan Buckley, who was a superstar player, never got one. And there's Robert Flower going back a long time ago with Melbourne. Lots of great players didn't win premierships, which, Matthew Pavlich, looking locally, Nat Fyfe may not ever win one, which is probably likely. It just doesn't always, the sliding doors moment doesn't always occur.
I always feel uncomfortable talking about it because I've won a premiership, right? And or every single one of those players that you just mentioned are better players than me.
But that's irrelevant in moments in time, in teams you're in. So I just think sometimes you just have to accept that card fell your way.
Yeah, but I feel awkward because I do feel my career and my entire existence for 15 years would have felt unfulfilled, and I would have felt empty at the back end of my career if I didn't win a flag. So to me, that means if you don't win a flag, well, you can be a brilliant player, but you didn't quite, and that doesn't, you didn't quite do it. Like you didn't quite do what everyone's trying to do. And that's not disrespectful to Pav and to Gary Lyon and Nick Rewalt. Like all these players are brilliant, right? But there's no avoiding the fact that we're playing to win premierships. If you don't win one, then you haven't done everything that you'd want to do in football. I don't think you could probably say that either. And most of those guys would agree. But it doesn't mean that I'm a better... Like, it doesn't mean if you've won one, you're better than anyone. No, but it certainly means that if you haven't done it, you've got that in your gut.
A great analogy I would have thought is Nat Fyfe, and I've got no idea what his thoughts are, but I'm thinking 2 Brownlow medals, lose those, win 1 premiership. What are you taking?
Premiership.
You're taking the premiership.
And he'll say that.
Of course he will.
Yeah. Daisy Pearce, Aaron Phillips, Luke Hodge, Nick Rewalt, Gary Lyon, George Owens, John Leadham, and Peter Darley inducted into the AFL Hall of Fame. Ken Farmer upgraded to legend status as well, Skeeter. So I don't know if anyone caught that, but a pretty good group of players there as well.
Yeah, and look, there's always the argument of the mix of more modern players and some of the older players. We talk of like Gary Buckenara or Jeff Rains or whoever going back 30 or 40 years. Some generations miss out. Dustin Fletcher, I believe, is not in at the moment.
Right.
He is deserving of that honour, I would have thought.
Gary Ablett Senior's not in there still.
Yeah, I think there's a bit. I think there's the character side. Wayne Carey, Ben Cousins for the character side, which it's a whole other discussion about at what stage do these players afforded the honour of joining that group.
Caroline Wilson reporting Nazaya Wanganeen-Milera doesn't want to go to Adelaide due to the Taylor Walker racism saga in 2021. This was then denied by Wanganeen-Milera's manager. And then it was then told by Tex Walker on radio that Wanganeen-Milera and Tex Walker spoke to say that this wasn't true. I think this is a little bit of a minefield, other than the fact... I don't know in media when these sorts of stories, and I'm talking about Caroline Wilson's story, when they're breaking a story around a contract or like a signed contract or not, or breaking, when it's stories like this that is around
pretty sensitive subjects.
Well, when it's around, it's a personal, like it's almost outside of footy. This isn't a footy issue per se. I know it's to do with where Nathan Wanganeen-Miller wants to play next year in St Kilda and Port Adelaide. And Adelaide, is he going to stay? Is he going to go back to Adelaide? But when the off-field stuff happens and then it comes into it, it's a very easy place for it to completely blow up. Now, Caroline's probably got her sources and said, well, I'm correct. But then when you double down and triple down and everyone involved is saying, well, that's not true.
And even Zai's rung up Taylor Walker to say, mate, the reason, or whatever decision I make, it's got nothing to do with what you said. Yeah, it does look, and because of and Caroline's a very good journalist, and there's obviously, sometimes you get it wrong though, and if this is what, just a bit like politicians. If you get it wrong, put your hand and say, if that's the case, yep, I was given bad mail on that. You can do that. No, you can apologise and move on. Are you looking in that area, or are you?
Yeah, I am. I mean, there's just these sorts of stories. It doesn't necessarily have to be about Tex and Zai, but any of these types of stories, there's blowback that's bigger than footy, and that's sometimes where I get a bit uncomfortable. Is like, I'm happy to be critical of the AFL about their rules or the tribunal or players with their performance. When it starts getting into these areas, like there's blowback more than footy here. Like this year, and maybe the argument is, well, so should there be? It's about racism, and that's bigger than footy. Well, maybe that's the case, but I think you probably got to be right. So if you're wrong here, I think it's bigger than getting a contract story wrong.
Yeah, totally. But she clearly believes that she had the information to run with it. So again, we can only sit back and watch that unfold. But it sounds like he's staying at the Saints, or has he actually signed with the Saints?
I don't think so.
But it sounds imminent.
I don't think so. No,
you don't think so?
I think it's everything on the table still. Oh, that's what I thought. Tom Harley has accepted the Chief Operating Officer role at the AFL HQ to be second in charge to our man Dills. So over the last couple of weeks, they've added footy people to the administration. Greg Swan and Tom Harley.
Yeah, well, they're two good guys that, I mean, really, the football industry will be confident in their ability to carry out their job. Really, I don't think a lot of people want to get into the mechanics of the AFL, the inner workings of it. They're mainly based on the footy side of it, but in terms of those moments like the Willie Rioli thing, the Noah Bolter stuff, whether they can tidy that up and have the umpires not go through what they did a few weeks ago, that hopefully those types of appointments will alleviate those issues.
There we go, Skeeter. Shelter Brewing Co., the beer that we can't get enough of. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Okay, Skeet, a little review before we get into the previews. Collingwood defeated Melbourne by 1 point at the MCG Monday Arvo. Pies just find a way. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat around Craig McRae and close finishes. He's like been in 14 and he's won 11 or something.
He's just got a scary record, and that's a great coaching record, but the players are the ones that continually, under his tutelage, are able to put themselves in the right spot, and it's just a happy knack because of the experience they've got. And it's a bit like, we heard Andrew McCulter talk about how players don't know how to win. Well, Collingwood, they know what to do in those situations to get the result. And that's exactly what they did. In Melbourne, botched a few chances in the last quarter. Bailey Fritsch, Oliver going forward, Maxi at the end, I think was a bit of a Hail Mary, to be totally honest. There are 30 seconds left. It would have been difficult. But yeah, there are teams that know how to get that result. And you felt that, didn't you, in the last 5 or so minutes, that they would manage to squeeze the win?
Well, they would feel that, mate. So where it's got now, like, yes, it's coaches, yes, it's the execution, but now they get to a close game. They're like, we're gonna win this.
We'll find a way. Yeah,
we'll figure it out. They believe that someone will do something to win the game. They'll believe as a collective they can win it, and that is something that never really gets talked about. But if you're a player in that team in Collingwood, I've been like, so 2015, I reckon we were like this. We'd start slowly and just be like, we're going to smoke this team. I don't know how, but we're just going to absolutely whip them, and we would. When you have that belief that it doesn't matter what the other side does, we're going to win, like that beats anything. That beats structure, system, players, coaches, everything, home ground, away ground. You literally just rock up and you're like, if I play my role today, we win. Yeah. Like there is nothing stronger than that in the world.
The best example I can give, and this is going back, I've forgotten the years because I can't remember the exact prelim final.
60.
No, it was a couple of years ago in a prelim final, Collingwood versus the Giants, 2 or 3 minutes remaining, and Collingwood just shut down that game as well as I've ever seen in a final with numbers around the footy, and they just work the percentages so well. So that is something they have been doing for, I know last year was a bad year for them, but in general, the last 3 or 4 years, they've done it better than anyone.
22, their premiership year. I think 20.
Was it 20?
That was their premiership year. Yeah, they won that prelim and then won the flag.
Well, they won in 23, so it was...
Okay, so it's probably 23. Is it 24 this year or 25?
It's 25, yeah.
That's
so you reckon
thought,
I'm starting to go down that path?
I'm unwell sometimes, aren't I? Seriously, unwell. Just a quick one on Max Gawn, Stephen May incident. The more I think about it, the more I reckon Max Gawn was probably more in the wrong than Stephen May. They both were in the wrong. Stephen May, his timing was wrong. But Gawny, as your captain, can't be spitting out torps through the middle of the ground. And the MCG, you're trying to win a game of footy. So they're both motivated by winning and competitiveness, and that's why it boils over. I just don't know as the captain if you're pushing your players away on the field. I've never seen that in any of my players, anyone I've ever played with. I've never seen that on the field.
No, I get that and I understand where you're coming from, but
it's not a big deal.
Would have given the footy shows that night just something, some spice on top of a good match to talk about. But Maxie addressed it after the game. I'm going to give Maxie a bit of an out here. I think he's just been so good, and occasionally we're all allowed to, just whether he was angry at himself, angry at the situation, angry, of course, and it happens. And I can guarantee you that's in the terms of what's been discussed this week at Melbourne, about 0.1%.
Very good. Aspect Accounting giving us the numbers this week, Skeeter. Scott Pendlebury has now won 11 games by 1 point, the most ever. One-pointers.
Do you know that, and this might have changed, but history has shown that margin of 1 point is the most winningest number in the history. It might have gone to 2 points in the last 5 or 6 years, but we'll get some, hopefully Aspect Accounting will be able to help us with this, or Sir Swamp. But 1 point for a long time has been the winningest number in football. And Collingwood have added to that, I reckon, a few times.
I like that from you. Well, 11 times under Scott Pendlebury at least. North Melbourne versus Fremantle Optus Stadium. Saturday, 5:30 Saturday night footy. We like to see that here over in the West. We've got 2 games at Optus Stadium. Footy bonanza. Of course, it's a North Melbourne home game. North have won 2 games in a row, thanks to Aspect Accounting. North have won 2 games in a row once in the last 5 years. And it was against West Coast and Fremantle in round 1 and round 2 in 2023. They couldn't do it again, could they, Skeeter?
No, not what I saw on Sunday.
Come on, Skeet, come with me.
No, I'm not a big fan of North at the moment because we're trying to get a couple of those blokes just to have a chat to us on radio, and the media team's just giving us donuts.
They came into us.
Well, that's fine, but you've got the name, but they're just anyway. They can do as they please.
So you're off North?
I'm off North. No, I mean you come here, you're trying to win over fans, yet you can't find a bloke for 5 minutes to talk on radio. So good luck to them. They were as bad as the Eagles were for 3 quarters. Oh. No, the first quarter against the Eagles, they were good.
No, they weren't.
Well, I say good. They were better than the Eagles.
Yeah.
They were better than the Eagles. And for 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes in the last quarter, they dominated. And they won by 10 points. From what I saw in between that, North Melbourne, they're still a mile away from, and they've got a lot more top-end talent, I think, than, say, the Eagles. And if they produce something like that on Saturday night, and if the Dockers play to anywhere near their potential, they'll get hold of them. That doesn't always pan out. But yeah, I think North have got some outstanding players. I thought Luke Parker played one of his best games for the club, albeit he's very new. That's a type of game we want to see more from him.
Clip this up, Jaden. In one of the great moral victories of modern day times in the AFL, Alex Pearce, ruled out with a hot spot in his shin, will miss 3 weeks since he had the decision overturned at the tribunal for no reason. He's missed the 3 games. That is as good as it gets.
Is that footy karma? Because
no, it's not karma.
Some people say it's footy karma. No, he should have got 3. Anyone who thinks he should have got 3 weeks ago, there's footy karma.
No, it's not footy karma. It is doing what's right. He should not have been suspended. He got off, yet he hasn't played in 3 weeks. So there we go. Charlie Comben is out for at least 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. Spoke to our man Steve Gravina, who's been a physio at AFL level. He runs front runner physiotherapy. He said this could be
it's a broken scapula.
It's a broken scapula. What does that mean? I'm just
around here somewhere.
Okay, thank you. So I was about to tell you what it means, but you tell me, Dr. Reddy.
Well, I've got good source says it's broken scapula. Yeah, but he could come back.
Is that source the North Melbourne Football Club? They've put it all over the injury list, mate. What do you mean? It's been all over the media.
What have they said? Broken scapula. Yes. There you go. Well, you were trying to say shoulder. I'm saying broken scapula.
Yes. Okay. It's a. Skeeter's got his sources. He's got his nose close to the ground. He's scurrying around. He's gone afl.com.au and
No, I haven't. No.
Fractured scapula. That is right.
No, scapula, yeah.
It could.
Not spatula. Or bachelor.
You're a spatula. You're a spatchcock. So it could be longer than 2 to 3 weeks. This one's been reported. It could be longer than that, significantly longer.
Anyway, he's out. He's not playing. What we'll say is that said Alex Pearce not there. Good to see Michael Walters coming back playing, albeit waffle this week. This will be his last season in AFL colours. I don't think there's any surprise with that.
Oh, he said that?
No, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I don't think he's playing on next year.
Okay.
But the good news is they've got almost like a ready-made replacement in the sense that Isaiah Dudley has signed a new, I think, 2-year deal.
Awesome.
Which is fantastic for him, and he's been a revelation. He's given them that little spark that the Dockers need as a small forward. So whether he can continue that development through the back end of this year and obviously moving forward, it's actually could work out really nicely for the Dockers without having spent a lot to get him.
Selection things will be around. So Jago Mira looks set to come back in. Nat Fyfe, does he sub? Does he not play? Sean Darcy, do they play him? Do they double up or not? You'd think against Tristan Cherry you do play 2 rucks, given how good he is in the ruck.
Also, unless this is they beat the Gold Coast. Now, unless there was any other injuries that came out of that.
There wasn't.
So Nathan O'Driscoll, I don't know how close he's getting, but I think he's one player that would
they'd love to get him back.
Walk him back into the side as soon as possible. Now, whether that's this week or further on down the track remains to be seen.
Freo have some issues. I wonder what the crowd will be like. They're expecting.
Someone said, I saw on social media, 30,000 tickets have been sold. Now, if that's the case, you're looking at, high 30s, early 40s.
Go and get a ticket if you're a Freo fan. This is what happens in Melbourne, just so you know. Every week, if your team's playing at the MCG, you're a Richmond fan. Like you're playing an away game at the MCG, or whoever else.
Yep.
You got to go buy a ticket. So if you're a Freo fan, I'd encourage you to go and do that. I know it's not ideal, but your team wouldn't be here in a normal circumstance. So don't look at it as if you're a member and I should be going. Just go and buy a ticket. You'll be fine. Taking my whole family there, actually. Skater. North Melbourne didn't kick a goal, thanks to aspect accounting, for 63 minutes last round, but still won the game. The third longest goal drought for a winning side in the history of the game. So you were spot on.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Who are we picking?
Oh, Fremantle. Yeah. They have to win and win pretty convincingly, I would have thought.
Okay, very, very good. Skeeter, Sheldon's fastest selling beer of 2024. The Japanese dark lager is back for winter 25. I don't think you'd like it. Get down to launch. You wouldn't. You're not a dark lager man. You're a lager man.
No, I was thinking of the Socceroos. They would have liked it after their game at Optus.
Very good at Best. It's available at Best this Saturday, 4 p.m. That's Besk. 4 p.m. this Saturday for Japanese dark lager launch and a shelter tap takeover. You know what happens at tap takeovers?
No.
Maddie gives people free beers. So go down to Besk, 4 p.m. Saturday.
Besk in West Leaderville?
Yeah.
I do like that place as well.
You took Victoria on a date there last week.
I take lots of people, as in mates.
Sorry.
No, excuse me. I go to lunch with people there. No, let me just clarify that. I like Besk. It goes well.
And I like my wife too. Listen to you backpedaling, you idiot. We know you're not taking other women there. You're like other friends. Besk is great. Shelter's great. Go down there for a free beer. That's what usually happens. West Coast versus Carlton. Optus Stadium Sunday, 4:10 p.m. This is probably a more interesting game, I think, than the one we just spoke about. Carlton have won their last 5 games against West Coast by an average of 76 points.
How many goals has Charlie kicked?
Closest game was 63 points in that span. Harry Mackay will face a fitness test this week with a knee. Harry Edwards' 50th match this week. Off the back, I think, of his best match of his career against Nick Larkey. 13 intercepts and kept Larkey goalless. One of the best in the comp.
Yeah, I thought it was his best game. Jake Waterman, I spoke to him during the week. He said exactly the same thing. And he was outstanding. It also, I know he's probably had to learn without McGovern there and almost become the leader of the pack in defence in that situation. You'll be able to tell me whether this is right or not, but being dropped unfairly, I think, at times this year. He's sort of come in and out. I think he needs to stay in there and be given that confidence to back himself as a player and maybe then oversee Sandy Brock's development until Gov comes back or doesn't come back.
Well, let me tell you, Skate, this could be the game to make or break him, and I hope it's not break. But Charlie Curnow, the last 4 times he's played West Coast, thanks to aspect accounting, has kicked 26 goals, 13, averaging 10 shots a game. 10 shots a game.
I remember calling a game a year ago, 2 years ago, I can't remember, but we were all sitting in the commentary box saying, righto, we're hoping that Charlie kicks 10. He had 9 just because to give us something the game was done and dusted. Yeah, he just had a field day against the Eagles, and I think it'll be pretty tough for Harry and Co on Sunday.
So I think with those stats in front of you, if he can keep him to under 5 shots, it's a massive win for West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if he kicked 5-0, I still think that's a win, given he's had 10 shots a game for the last 4. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to keep him to goal. Like I don't think you're going to keep him goalless like you did Nick Larkey. I just don't see that happening.
No, exactly. So, but you need support in that sense, don't you, in terms of what's happening around you and up the field.
Yep, very, very good, Skeeter. Who are we picking in this one? One little one, Tom McCarthy is a chance to come in for his debut. That's the mid-season number 1 pick.
Get him in soon.
Okay.
No, get him in. Get these guys in. Tom Gross, look, I don't see enough of training or the Waffle Eagles, to be honest with you.
Yep.
And I know you've got to get the right balance, but I want to see, everyone keeps saying get Tom Gross in there. He's got a lot of upside.
Who do you want out? I'm going to put on you. Who do you want out? You can't just bring players in for nothing. Who do you want out?
You know what? I think at some stage, at half-time, I think Tim Kelly, again, is not playing anywhere near his potential.
He's playing on a half-forward flank. They're not playing him inside.
Well,
I don't know why.
Well, you give me the reason why that is.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I think people are expecting 30 touches from Tim Kelly. He's playing Jamie Cripps's role. Like he's playing a role that is probably maximum 20, and he's chopping out inside. So he's playing a very different role, Tim Kelly. I'm not saying you're wrong, other than...
And I don't like just singling out one guy, but I think if we are to have a look at... Tom McCarthy has to play in the next couple of weeks. If you're going to pick him up in the draft, let's have a look at him in some circumstances and see whether he has that ability to adjust to the next level. You're right. You still have to drop someone. Now, Jaden Hunt, how's he playing? He's a wingman, but is he a like for like for some of these players mentioned? Probably not. So you're right. You can't just say, well, get rid of him and we'll put him in, because it's not a match that is perfect.
I'll give you like a little solution. I reckon you could easily play Dewar and Marek on each wing. Right, if you want Jaden Hunt not in the side, I reckon you could probably play Gross in the role Kelly's in, and I reckon you could probably play Tom McCarthy in Dewar's current role. So I think that's pretty calm and solution-based, and if you want to start seeing some of their young players and those 2 players, that's how you'd do it. You'd have Dewar, Marek wing, and probably someone else on the bench, and then you'd have Tom McCarthy as the Marek role, the Dewar role for the last 2 weeks. Like it's an accumulating, line-breaking role that Marek played for the first part of the year. Dewar's been there for 2 weeks now. I think you play him on a wing and get your run on either side. I think that looked quite good, actually.
Yeah, look, I think Andrew McCoulter's, I can see the improvement. I know it was a terrible game against North, the quality, but I can see the improvement. Can you see it visually on game day?
Pressure, mate. Like they had like...
Compare it to
14 inside 50 tackles. Like the pressure was elite.
Everything I compare to is going back to round 1. And what we saw on that day was, as bad as we thought the Eagles were going to be this year, that was a shock to the system. So I think he's done a really good job just to start to mould it in the style that we wanted. Obviously, I asked Liam Duggan after the game on Sunday. I don't think he was too happy with me. I said it felt like the Eagles ran out of gas in that last quarter, and he sort of said you're taking a half glass empty approach to...
Well, they did. Hang on, Duggo.
No, but I think
they clearly did.
No, but I think
you could see it.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought.
He's a captain. He's not going to say.
No. He did it, and he's such a nice guy that he said, "No, at the end, you're probably on the mark." But I can understand you're trying to defend your team, etc. So, but their last quarters, albeit Geelong was a 10-minute burst with Jeremy Cameron going mental. Last week it was just that drop off. 50-metre penalty came at the wrong time. Yeah, I can see some real improvement, and this is with 1 win next to their name. So must be hard for Eagles supporters to stomach, because that loss against North was harder than probably most other losses this year, I think.
Yeah, but I said this earlier in the year, if you compete and you put effort in, fans are pretty happy.
Yeah.
They don't need to see the wins. Like But
the players need to see some wins for the nourishment of all that sort of stuff.
They should have won that on the weekend, but I just think I don't think there's a lot of pressure on West Coast like there was 10 weeks ago. Like, 10 weeks ago, what are they doing? Where's the improvement? Where are these young players at? Whereas now, you can see improvement in Elijah Hewitt. You can see improvement in Harley Reid's fitness and what his output is. You can see improvement in Archer Reid, in Jack Williams. Like, these are all in Brady Hoff as a midfielder.
Absolutely.
And Jimby is like, you can say they're all improving. So I think that you don't need to win at this stage. In fact, that you'd like the number 1 pick. So probably
do you think they'll win another game this year? They've got Richmond over here.
Oh, they might. Yeah, they probably will.
Yeah.
They probably.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Which I've changed my tune there.
I think they might pinch too. I don't know how or where, but these things happen. St Kilda game, you wouldn't have thought so. But yeah, so I think they'll be beaten by the Carlton side on the weekend. I looked at that match on Sunday night. The Bombers came at Carlton and they showed enough to me to suggest that, they're what?
Well, no, keep going. I'm just laughing at myself.
There's still enough quality there for me.
So what was the question you just asked me? Do you think they'll win another game?
Yeah.
Who are you picking?
I'm picking Carlton.
I'll pick West Coast.
You pick West Coast, have you? You think they can beat Carlton?
Yeah. I just laugh at myself like, oh, yeah, they might. I think West Coast might win.
Okay, yeah. And look, for Carlton, Silvani, he's become a... Imagine that. I mean, yes. I think we talked about this before. Who'd have thought that a Silvani would be good in defence? Well, he's come out and had a really good season and played through a tough period for them. And, I think the defence of Carlton, the mids, Paddy Cripps, again, it feels like the poor bloke's just been carrying that side for so long, but he's the guy that will hopefully, from a Carlton perspective, do enough to give Charlie and maybe Harry enough supply. And I just think
Walsh is back in good form.
Yeah, the quality of Carlton will get the job done.
I'll pick West Coast. All right, Skeet. Is the footy better with shelter? We are asking you over this month or so, can you enjoy the footy better with a carton or a can of shelter? Last week we did the export stout. Yeah, responses flooded in. But this week, Skeeter, it is the lager, the shelter lager. Is the footy better with a shelter lager? You're a lager man.
Yeah,
so you're going to be positive on this.
Yeah, I'll be absolutely thumbs up. I've tasted it. I like it.
Can you give me a bit more review? What does it taste like?
Well, I'm not really a connoisseur. It's a beer. If I'm watching the footy or watching Australia play South Africa in the cricket or whatever it is, sitting there by myself, just luxuriating in my little man cave, not being nagged by you or anyone else. It's just nice to sit there with a shelter.
All right, that is brilliant. Shelterfootycast.com.au. You're going to buy some shelters and then you're going to tell us, is the footy better? Click on the link, put your submissions in. I've got a couple to get through now, Skeeter. How do we buy our shelters, you ask? Go and do it right now. Shelterbrewing.com.au. Lager 20 is the code. You get 20% off. Comes out of my pay packet. Skeeter's happy about that. I'm coming 210th in the tipping as well, Skeet. So I'm...
Are you up or down from where you were?
About the same. So $2,100 down at the moment.
Can you guarantee me...
Plus the 20% off, and a lot of people have bought the lager.
Are you seriously putting the Eagles in as your tip for this week?
Yes, I will.
That's fantastic.
Are you winning? Are you on top of the...
I'm in top by one, yeah.
You're still on top?
Just by one, yeah.
So you're tipping?
I've tipped Carlton, I told you.
Okay, very good. I am seriously tipping them. So
that gives me an extra reason, for some reason, to barrack for Carlton.
Get some lager into you. Lager 20 at checkout will get you 20% off. The beers are cheap. The beers taste good. Or maybe they don't. Tell us if they don't. If it doesn't make it any better and your team's shit house and you have a beer and they look even shitter, I want to know about it. In fact, you'll probably make the final. This will be announced, the winner of this, Monday on the show. Travis sends this one in, Skeeter. Watching the footy without a shelter lager is like listening to the Shelter podcast with Skeet missing. You think you're enjoying it, but by halftime you realise it's bloody terrible.
Who's that from?
Keep up the great work, fellas. From Travis.
It's got any Travis.
Stuff you, Travis.
No, it's nice. It's, I cop a lot of wax sitting here or anywhere, really.
Did you write that in, did you?
No, it's nice to get occasionally you can get a compliment. It's nice. It's it makes you walk out of this beautiful studio here and you go, yeah, I'm a decent human being.
Piss off, Travis. All right. That's good. All right, this is from Clint, our last one for today. These are all making the final, by the way. Well, after walking into shelter on Sunday morning at 10 a.m, I hope this is a Skeeter sighting. I haven't seen this, but I hope it is. At 10 a.m. to kick off the Southwest Footy Bonanza weekend, knocking back a few breakfast shelters, we made our way to Bunbury for what can only be described as a dour Southwest affair. My North boys got the chocolates, and the highlight of the day was Scoey and Hammer right in front of us. You'll enjoy this. Shoving as many party pies into their gobs and deleting them 2 or 3 party pies at a time. Good stuff, boys. I can only imagine Skeet was too hungover to join in. Leaving Bunbury and enjoying a few more shelters, that evening was capped off by a ripping day. Well done, Southwest, and especially Shelter.
Yeah, and as a Ross McQueen, the East Perth coach, Hammer only had 1 party pie, you had the rest. Let's just put that on the record.
Very good. All right, Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, a Shelter Footy Cast. St Kilda versus Western Bulldogs. We're going to have to whip through these.
Yeah,
We've
will.
actually banged on. Or where have you got to get? Where are you off to?
Just
you're in
life.
you're in your casual wear. So where are you off to?
Well, wife's at home. I think she might want me to do some stuff around the garden. So I was hoping it'd rain today because when it's raining, you can't do it. But
Is that what you say?
It's just cloudy.
Is that what you say? I can't go out in the rain.
No, you can't do the leaves if it's raining. But it's just it'd be nice if it was raining. That's
Can you give me your top 5 list of things you do around the house?
Did I do well?
Is that leaves? No, not well. And I'm asking.
Oh, I do. So I do.
So mop the what do you do? Rake the leaves?
I can rake leaves. I do the washing. I fold the washing up. I'm the best folder up of washing that's
Are you?
I'm very good.
That's a bit therapeutic.
Yeah, it's because these hands are quite soft, so
Yes,
I need
I know
to.
you've got
They can't be like cleaning the gutters or anything. It's got to be something sort of like dare I say, it's like a domesticated inside job.
Right,
I'm
so grass. No, you can't have 3 clothing related ones. You can't say washing, ironing, and folding. Give me what
the
else?
pool. I clean the pool pretty well.
What is that? Is that
Big
is
strip
that
up.
leave related as well? A lot of leaf work and a lot of clothing.
I
work.
don't keep going. I'm starting to feel insecure about my lack of ability
It's
outside
good.
of leaves.
Mate, it's
and
better than
clothes.
me. I do. No,
Do you?
I pack the dishes.
What, put them in the dishwasher?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hello. That's a given. Most blokes do that.
What's a task?
So what stage are you going to say in terms of handyman? I think you're probably got to be better than me because I'm useless.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you fix? If Alex says this needs fixing, and you can do it.
I can hang like things. I can hang things on the wall. I can hang things.
You know what? I cop a lot of stick because I'm not great. My wife goes, I tell you what, if it was your Foxtel remote that was not working or your TAB account, you'd find a way to make it work, wouldn't you? I'd say,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Oh, very good. Okay, sorry, we're meant to whip through these because we've got to keep moving. We've got to keep back to fucking Moppy's leaves up on the ground. St Kilda versus Western Bulldogs. Marvel Stadium. That is tonight. Jack Sinclair's 200th match. 2 All-Australians, 2 BNFs. He's turned himself into a superstar after being a rookie pick back in the day. Sam Darcy returns 46 days after hurting that knee. That looked like a snappage.
Yeah.
He is back, which is brilliant by him. Jack McRae returns for the Saints from a punctured lung. And our boy Isaac is up and about because he's a Saints man and he reckons St Kilda can win. Do you, Skeeter?
Well, their best is always good enough, St Kilda, against sides like the Bulldogs. But, I mean, I guess the question now is, how will the Dogs respond after a couple of losses? Competitive against Geelong. Last week they were beaten as well. I forgot who they lost to. The Dogs. They lost.
Hawthorn.
Yeah, that's right. Thursday
My
night.
boys.
Yes. But they've won 9 of their past 10 at Marvel Stadium. The average margin, 48 points. So on that basis, look, Aaron Norton, who's been... let's be honest, he hasn't had a massive year, but he tends to bob up pretty well against the Saints and kick goals. He gets that chop out from Sam Darcy. I think their midfield is still good enough to get enough supply. I'm thinking that I don't expect the world from Sam Darcy tonight, but I think the Dogs win.
I think bounce back's coming after a pretty poor performance. Oh my gosh, pretty poor performance after the bye last week. I think they bounce back and the Bulldogs win. I picked them too. Hawthorn versus Adelaide, University of Tasmania. They've got a couple of games in a row.
Friday night game though. This is huge.
So who was talking about? Oh no, that was someone was talking about Canberra at night. Who did GWS play?
They played Port last
and
week.
They won. So Ken Hinkley was talking about the cold in Canberra. He wasn't happy with the night game in Canberra. I'll tell you what would be colder than Canberra, Tasmania.
Well, I can tell you who.
Or is it? So weatherman, is it?
No, I'm just telling you. Just if you're talking about what Ken Hinkley went through, what about was it Clarko going back? Was it Clarko or Sam Mitchell?
Yeah.
No, but in Clarko in Canberra, it was snowing.
Yeah, wasn't he no top on? Was he running
His shorts and just complete lunatic. I mean, what's he doing? Anyway, Launceston's cold. I've been there. You would have played there. I've been there, but during a day game. This is a good game. This is a ripping game because Hawthorn got back to a bit of what we've seen. Well, haven't seen much of this year, to be totally honest with you, against better sides. So I thought their performance was, they just had to get a result. And Adelaide, let's be honest, they were good enough to beat Brisbane. Lions were inaccurate in the last quarter, but they keep winning. And so that's the issue for them, is where they can go to Launceston, a place that Tassie, Hawthorn, I don't think I've ever tipped against them in the last 3 years.
Yeah, well, no reason other than this one. Thanks to Aspect Accounting, Hawks has won their last 7 games in Launceston by an average of 40 points. However, the most recent loss was against Adelaide in 2023 by 3 points. So they can win down there, Skeeter. Pretty recent as well, 2 years ago. Hawks are hopeful. Nick Watson, James Scrimshaw and James Warple. Isn't it Jack Scrimshaw? Or am I making that up? Pretty sure it's Jack Scrimshaw.
It is Jack.
Thank you very much, Isaac. Gotcha. James Warple will also return. Hopefully, James Peatling will be out with that suspension for the Crows.
You happy with Nick Watson? No, it was Ginnivan, wasn't it? Ginnivan, sorry, running into the open goal.
Fine with it.
All good.
All good,
fine.
mate.
Yeah. Is that taunting in the NFL? No,
you like it as well.
Mate, of course I do. That aeroplanes, do what you want as long as you're not, doing the finger to blokes.
Or a coach. Or a coach.
Yeah,
out in the middle of the field.
Yeah, after the game, doesn't matter.
Can't fire you up. I pick Hawthorn and pretty easily.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Hawthorn will win this game. I think Adelaide's been up for a while. I think this is a sweet spot for Hawthorn to maybe launch that sort of run that you were talking about, which hadn't happened for a few weeks. And now it's...
Okay.
No, I'm saying it could be the start of something. They've hopefully turned the corner.
Keep reminding me. That's good. Brisbane versus GWS. Another good game, I think, at the Gabba. We know Brisbane's good. GWS, I'm not too sure on. Brandon Starcevic could return for his first match since round 1. So
did he go through a concussion panel?
That was concussion, not a concussion panel, but he's been out for a long time. We know he's a great defender, so someone will be disappointed that he's back in the side. Giants are hopeful Toby Green will play after that sort of hip pointer, corky sort of areas. He was subbed off at half-time last week. Finn Callahan is set to return after that shoulder injury. He's been out for 4 weeks. He's been a big missing factor for GWS, I think. And last year, thanks to Aspect, GWS beat Brisbane by 54 and 18 points during the season before blowing a 44-point lead in the semi-final.
Yeah, and I'll go back to that game at the Gabba where it was a big win by the Giants late last season. Darcy Jones kicked some late goals. That was, you thought, wow, the Giants are on the move here, but obviously they fell away in the finals. Just going back, last week Brisbane should have won. They won the clearances by 16, the inside 50s by 17 in the second half against the Crows, but lost. So I think there's still going to be a quality team at home. They're not playing as well as what we know they can.
Yes.
Are they? They're not the same level.
They haven't scored over 100 this year at the Gabba, which is very rare for them, so they haven't been scoring. But Brisbane, right?
Yeah, but the trust factor I've got of Brisbane at the moment, it's a bit higher than the Giants, let's be honest. That match we saw against the Dockers, and they haven't been able to... where they come? They came from the clouds to beat Richmond. Yeah, they're not playing great footy, and as a result, Brisbane I think deserves to be favourites, and I think they'll win this.
It'd be a more interesting game if it was at GWS. I think at the Gabba, I can't pick GWS. I suspect they rebound from last week, but yeah, they've been really inconsistent, haven't they, for the last couple of months? I picked Brisbane as well, Skeeter. Essendon v Geelong, MCG, Saturday Arvo. Bailey Smith is a test to return off the back of that hamstring injury. No, Isaac, it was not a suspension. It was a hamstring injury. Sam Durham out with suspension. Elijah Sartis, is that how I say it?
Yep, that's good.
Or Dylan Shield, the likely replacement for him. Geelong have won their last 7 games against Essendon by an average of 51 points. It is at the MCG, though, Skeet, which is a little bit different at Cardinia Park.
Yeah, no, you're right. Max Holmes would be pretty close to being their clubhouse leader, wouldn't he, in the fairest and best, alongside Bailey Smith. Or Bailey'd be in front, but Max Holmes having a big year.
Yeah, he is, mate. I've really enjoyed his footy. It's Max Holmes and Bailey Smith. If Bailey Smith doesn't play and Essendon don't put someone on Max Holmes, I'll spew up. Like he's a bona fide star now.
Yeah,
like,
but
he's the best player.
Not just that. He runs. He just you get on the bike and away he goes. He picks up a lot of metres. So yeah, I'm really the Cats just keep surprising us, but maybe not you, but they're getting into a position with their run home, and there's going to be a banana peel somewhere here and there for them. But they're headed towards the top 4. I think. I mean, Gold Coast I think will be vulnerable depending on how they play away from home. Geelong is the team that could just grab that double chance, and I think they beat Essendon. I think they're just more trustworthy. The Bombers can have good quarters and good moments, but they're just not a side against the better teams that you think are going to win regularly.
This could be an outrageous number I'm pulling out of you-know-what, Skater. I believe, so it's the Scott Cup this week, Brad versus Chris.
Yes.
I believe this is their 1,000th game total coaching and playing this game, and it just so happens to land on the fact that they play each other.
Well, you've obviously got some information.
No, I think I saw that. I don't know if I didn't calculate it. I didn't get my abacus out like you do. I've seen it somewhere, probably from someone. Does that sound about right? Or does that sound outrageous?
I have no idea. It sounds like a lot of games though.
It sounds like 1,000. Who would be Geelong?
Geelong.
Yeah. Port Adelaide v Melbourne and Adelaide Oval. Sunday Arvo. Why are you? What do you mean?
It's a tough. This is one of the tougher games of the round, I would have thought.
Okay. I hadn't really considered it, to be honest. I just think they're two pretty average sides, and it doesn't make me.
No, Melbourne's actually. But I think Melbourne's been okay in the last 6 weeks. I think they've played some decent footy with
last three between them have been decided by 8 points or less.
There you go. Melbourne's won one of those, haven't they? Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to add some drama, a bit of interest to the last few games of this round.
Sunday Arvo.
Port.
Paparama.
Yeah, but that was a good win by Port over the Giants. No, they're not playing finals. Interesting how they go with Kenny with the last half of the year. But Melbourne's coming off a 6-day break? Monday through to Sunday. So
yes.
Yeah, so on that basis, I probably think Port only because it's on their deck. But there's not a lot of confidence in either side here.
I'll take Melbourne.
You'll take Melbourne?
Yeah.
I'll take Port because Zach Butters and Connor Rosey are elite.
Very good. Collingwood, Gold Coast, Sydney, Richmond all have the buy. Shelter Brewing Co. Beer fresh from the Busselton foreshore. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Okay, a couple of long ones here and then a couple of short ones to finish us off. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you go to shelterbrewing.com.au. Get yourself a carton of lager. Lager 20 at checkout will get you discount. It'll be delivered straight to your door, express postage, and you can tell us over the weekend if the footy is better with a Shelter lager. A player loan system would really open up a huge can of worms. This is from someone on YouTube. For players, if you think they get attacked now, imagine if people thought they were tanking to help their own club. Let's say, I'll read it all out. Let's say Erasmus was on loan to the Hawks for 1 month period leading up to the finals. The Hawks and Freo are both playing for the final 8th spot, and Erasmus is playing his final game as a lone player and has a kick on the siren to win the game and put the Hawks into the finals and knock out his own club. Does he kick it knowing he won't be playing the finals and it will eliminate his own club? And what if he does? Would that end his playing days as a docker? Also, I'm not sure teams would want an outsider getting inside info in regards to game plans, etc. And they could share with their own club or anyone else. Too many possible issues, in my opinion, for such a system to work.
Yeah, but the player loan system, I don't think is the two parameters with that. I think that need to be taken into account. Say, for instance, Neil Erasmus goes to Hawthorn during the season. He doesn't play against his team that is loaned against.
And he's not going back to Freo to play after the loan period.
And if Fremantle need him back, for instance, for injuries come up, then so that scenario wouldn't happen, if you know what I mean. Yes. So he's not going to play against your team that you've loaned it to.
On the inside information, this is from China, the side you don't see. On the inside information, I can just let you know, every club in the AFL has inside information on every club in the AFL. There are players that get traded. There are coaches that used to coach. There are people around every footy club. The coaches speak to each other. You know, West Coast are playing Adelaide. Fremantle, the Carlton played Adelaide 2 weeks ago. West Coast are ringing Carlton to go, what happened here? What did they do here? I guarantee you. So don't worry about inside information. Everyone knows what everyone's doing.
Yep.
That's why it's ridiculous with closed sessions. Like, they already know. You know why? Because they've watched them on the weekends. There's not too much you can hide.
No, exactly. That's why I used to laugh at the closed sessions that the Eagles used to have under Mick Malthouse. But I understand.
Well, they still do it now. Not around Mick Malthouse. They're still doing it now.
Yeah.
Closed sessions. Spare me. What are you doing? What are you possibly going to be working on?
A bit different to, say, rugby union, where there are set, pieces, etc.
Or like a grand final where we don't know if Jeremy McGovern's going to get up or
Yeah.
not. I don't know. But still, the cameras will figure it out.
Yeah, well, you just put the chopper up or a drone or whatever you do. Just
Is that what you used to do?
Yeah.
Get the chopper up.
Get the chopper up. And you'd be choppers hovering over Subiaco Oval. Now you just get the drone up, don't you?
Scully, your rise through the ranks in sports media, goodness.
Come on, keep going.
Has been very impressive to watch.
Thank you, Jan.
You deserve all your success as you provide such honest, direct and very humorous approach to sports journalism.
Thank you, Jan Schofield, again.
Great pre-match discussions of the Socceroos with the usual Scully fare. Keep it up, brother. Oh, thank you for... Anyway.
So you're...
No, continue on. He's got more.
Yeah, but you're allowed to cop these, and I think it's
You've
crazy.
had compliments.
But you're loving this. You read the whole sermon here.
It's pretty long, actually. Regarding the Eagles, there are many off-field discussions that just astound me. Why are they not using Bailey Williams with Matt Flynn for every game when it's clear the only way we can compete in the ruck is by using those two working in tandem? Why are they persisting with Tim Kelly in any role? Why did he get a contract extension? Why is Jaden Hunt, who I generally don't mind, not being dropped for a while? His form's no good. Why are Clay Hall, Tom Gross, and Bo Allen not getting any more game time? And why can't we see Luca Grego? Why? It's so damn frustrating following this club. For every step forward, we take one step back and get nowhere. We are in football purgatory. P.S. Listening to your and Skeeter's post-match breakdowns of the ongoing Eagles fade-outs make them easier to handle. You guys are part of my therapy for my football-related depression. From Tyrios Novatus. He's given you.
He's given us both. That's one of the nicer ones.
I think we've covered the West Coast side of things.
Pretty well. Yeah. No, I can understand the frustration, but I do think there's improvement. Unless you're inside the club to know who's ready to take the next step. You've got to trust Andrew McQualter at this point. But we all want to see some of those young players exposed at the top level soon.
I think Jaden's telling me Brad Scott plus Chris Scott equals 961 total playing plus coaching. And then I said, is this live? So because we've played, no, it's not going to reach that.
No, okay. You're 39 short.
Well, where have I pulled that from?
Well, that's a good question.
What about pre-season games? Maybe pre-season. Where have I pulled that from? Where have I come up with that?
No, it's no.
Why would I? I'm not sitting at home thinking about how many games has Brad and Chris Scott played together and coached. Oh, seriously, I think it's that down.
I reckon someone will validate it somewhere, and you'll be ringing me up like Carl England does. There's 1,000 games. I told you.
You'll like this. You'll like the start of this at least. This is the last one from Matt on Insta. Scully, shocking call on the Dawson trade being the greatest of all time. Sydney got bent over as he would have went for nothing if they didn't work out a trade.
When did you criticise that?
No, I said Dawson was the greatest trade ever. I said...
Oh, for Adelaide?
Yeah. I don't care about Sydney.
No, so you'd say what's a criticism?
A good trade doesn't need to make both sides win. A good trade is one side completely bends the other one over. 6 months earlier, said he was going nowhere, then his partner had him by the balls. Okay, well, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Also, got made captain at the time because Adelaide were a rabble and had no on-field leadership. Matt, from Instagram, you couldn't have proven my point any better. Sydney got bent over. Absolutely they did. That's a great trade by Adelaide. I'm not talking about Sydney's involvement in it. Bad luck, Sydney. See you later.
What I'm really fascinated, I love it, is that we'll have listeners or people on the SMS or on the Instagram come
SMS.
out, well, whatever it is, and say, Skeeter, you said 2.5 years ago in round 13 that I'm going, mate, Scully and I can't remember what happened last week, let alone 2 years ago. So, yeah, we'll cop the flak. But you know what? What we say today is absolutely rubbish tomorrow. So just remember that.
You tagline. Will Scoville, Mark Redding, there's a Shuttle FootyCast. What we say today is rubbish tomorrow. Have a great weekend, guys. You got anything to finish it off with? Lager 20, go get your lagers. Go right now, shuttlebrewing.com.au.
Yeah, what about it?
I'm just saying, go buy some. Lager 20.
Yeah, I will.
Do you want to finish this off? I mean, that was a great tagline. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, it's just the truth. No, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to sitting in the commentary box on Saturday and watching the father-son develop, the Schofield name continuing through Auskick and then right through the grades, and I'll be his man. I'll be the Anthony van der Wielen, and I'll get the contract sorted for you, Sco, for young Nash.
He's in North Melbourne, kid. So he was in North Melbourne kid in Bunbury because of Luke Urquhart. I got a bit of feedback about that. I would say feedback back to that. Go fuck yourself. He's a 6-year-old. He can do whatever he wants. But
hopefully he doesn't watch this.
Yeah, no. I'm not telling my son. I'm telling people telling me, why is he not in the West Coast? Shut up. He likes Luke Urquhart. But Auskick, right? Auskick, it's Freo v Kangaroos. So what would you rather, Freo or Kangaroos? He's picked North Melbourne. So could be a North Melbourne fan before you get there, which is not going much better than the West Coast anyway. So that's me, Skate. Great work.
See you Monday. We'll both be here.
Okay, bye.